This video is brought to you by the wonderful and tasty Emmy, but more on that in a moment. I just got back from holiday on Saturday, that's why I'm so tanned. I also tested positive for COVID on Sunday. Today is day 3. I do feel like shit. Holiday was wonderful, COVID not so much. So please bear with me if this video has any weirdness to it, or I'm finding it very hard to focus, but I still want to do work and carry on putting things out. Don't worry, I'm not overstressing myself, I'm taking it cool and calm, but I do want to get this video out and then move on to hopefully playing some new Capenna. More on that in a second. Too much product. Less than a year ago, I did a video on the too much product problem, the perpetual hype, the strain and the fatigue that having so many products bombarding us constantly puts upon the player base. That video looks like shit and sounds like shit. It's too far zoomed in, it's overexposed. I didn't own the lights that I did. I didn't have any sound insulation on, the room wasn't filled up. My hair was bad, I'm unshaven. Hell, I've got COVID right now and I look 10 times better than I did back then. That's not important, but I did want to comment when I went back and watched the video. I was like, fuck Vince. What were you doing? But embarrassment for past selves aside, the video did strike on some notes that I thought were quite good. I was surprised at how nuanced the debate I took there. People often think that I'm doing clickbaity things and raging against the machine, but in reality I was talking about how we had to all readjust our view of Magic in order to deal with the new system. And that still holds true, because Perpetual Hype is ongoing. We have at most maybe a 30 to 35 day break at any one time from spoiler season, and that's a rarity normally over holiday periods. Perpetual Hype is ongoing. Perpetual Hype is ongoing. God, I'm slurring my words already. You can't get away from it. The hype train has no motherfucking brakes. But I have come to a theory that I think will improve and help things ongoing. So today's video is about that. The hype train, the brakes we might need, and what those brakes look like. Because it's not releasing less product, because Wizards aren't going to fucking stop, right? They're just going to pour it into our open mouths if we keep spending. But first, I need to make some bread, because Magic's an expensive hobby, and to make that bread, I'm going to show you my noodles. Twitter continues to joke, Reddit continues to joke, Discords continue to joke, content creators continue the joke by joining in on the circle jerk. Perpetual Hype. Brian has been doing these escalating meme tweets where he says, as the sun sets on, insert set here, what are you looking forward to in some far-flung set here? And he's been going further and further in time because we keep getting things announced further and further in time. We're getting previews for the Warhammer products coming out in Q4 for fuck's sake. And there is a truth to all of this. Like I said, the previews of stuff coming out later in the year, or the drip-fed stuff. There is a truth to all of this, even if it is a circle joke that kind of heightens everyone's awareness of it. And I've said in the past that whilst it can be troublesome to have to engage with everything, or feel the need to have to engage with everything because this is a lifestyle hobby, you can choose not to do that. You can take a step back and reevaluate your relationship with Magic. I have done the same. I have put the foot off the put the foot off the pedal in terms of having to do news content on like the hot new cards and stuff because I can't fucking keep up. And this is my full-time job. I have to admit that this year I feel better than I did last year about it. And I guess last year I felt better than the year before. So I don't know if this is like a gradual fatigue and wearing down my skepticism towards it, if it's me becoming used to it all. I don't know if I'm just becoming hardened or numb to it. In my previous video, I did an example of the shortness between preview seasons, highlighting that we only had 30 days at best between them, and Brian did a thing where he pointed out in his video last year how many products coming out each year. And it's just objectively fact that we don't get breaks longer than 30 days between sets, or set spoilers and releases and previews, and it's also objective fact we're getting more product more than ever. These are things that we can't refute. The point is, I guess we've got to try and establish whether that's a problem or not. Although we obviously meme on it, is it a serious issue that we need to be like, Wizards, please fix? And I don't know if it is, but I think there are things they can do to make it feel better. Because don't forget, this is not going to change, right? Wizards are making money hand over fist. Like I said, they will shovel it into our open gaping mouths if we are willing, because that makes them money. Last year, Wizards of the Coast made a record profit. They made so much fucking money. And there was always a question before, when things were getting banned a lot and power creep was out of control. We're talking about 12 months, 18 months ago, Modern Horizons 1, leading into Modern Horizons 2 being the last culprit of this, but War of the Spark, and 2 years ago we had like Throne of Eldraine and such. There was a theory that so much shit was going out the door and being built and made and designed and thrown out the door that the teams weren't big enough, and they didn't have the tools or the resources enough to keep an eye on what the fuck was going on. They weren't testing for all the formats. And that argument then becomes, if they're making so much fucking money, why aren't they reinvesting back into the people who are making the game in order to make the game in a better way or more efficient way? There's a lot of stress going on for these people to make more stuff. Are they being financially rewarded for the success of the company? Well, the short answer for that is probably no. However, there is an obvious trend that we can see, that things have gotten better. They have down-tuned the power level. They've stopped breaking every format with every release, which is nice. I mean, at the moment, Pioneer, Explorer as well, and other formats with Lewis's Bounty a few months ago are still healing from the damage that Ikoria did. Meanwhile, like Strixhaven and Kaldheim and so on, there's a few blips here and there like Tibalt. That's the kind of thing you should be having. There's a few blips, not format wrecking problems every 5 minutes. So there has been an improvement in understanding the power level, understanding the assignment, and getting it right. So credit where credit is due. I tweeted this out earlier today where I said, with new sets being announced, previews and teased, is New Capenna over for you now? Do you feel like we have moved on already? And at time of recording, almost 3,000 people have voted, and 55.9% of them say yes. Keep in mind, 10% went results, so only 33% said no. And I think if you aren't playing Limited, and you're just playing Constructed, you don't get to see formats sort of flesh out and live for very long before they're gone with the next release. I'm not a standard player, so I mainly play Modern and Legacy and Commander and Cube, of course. But we see this quite a bit now, even more so, where sets are affecting old things. So we've got Commander Legends coming out, the Baldur's Gate one, which I believe isn't affecting Modern, but now I'm saying this out loud, I could be wrong. With the cards from Commander Legends going into Legacy, though, which comes out on June 10th, that means Legacy had a 40-day period of living as the New Capenna version of Legacy before we get stuff going into it from another Commander Legends product. Now, on the upside, Pioneer and Standard and Modern as well don't have as much of an issue as Legacy as with that, but we are getting more stuff going into Modern than ever before as well. With Modern Horizon sets coming, sorry, we've had them already, we've got another one no doubt in the future, and the Lord of the Rings set that comes out early next year goes into Modern as well. So you have a higher frequency of things hitting Modern than ever before as well. And then on top of all of that, you have a more regular release schedule of random shit on Arena as well. So if you are an enfranchised player playing Paper Magic and playing Arena, you've got more things hitting you in the face and transforming Magic constantly. Now, I don't think this is all a bad thing. Like, when I was on holiday and I was surprised that we were 2 weeks on or less from New Capenna, and I was already finding myself wanting to talk about the Warhammer product that's coming out later this year, which, by the way, and this is the point I'm kind of getting at, looks fucking awesome. I'll do some more videos later in the week if I've got the energy levels with the fucking COVID that I've got, talking about the Warhammer product. But fuck, I'm so excited for it. And that's the interesting thing, right? I do care about Baldur's Gate, the Commander Legends 2 thing. I should care about it more, I guess, because AFR was such a weirdly set for me. I'm less excited for Baldur's Gate, and Baldur's Gate 2, the video game, is one of my favourite video games of all time, so I should be excited. But like, that and Brothers War and Warhammer are so exciting for me. Where Dominaria United, the continuing of the current storyline, going back to Dominaria and naming the set after a football team or some shit, doesn't excite me. But this is kind of the cool bit of having so much shit going on, is that you can kind of pick and choose what you want to be excited about or interested in. So I'm going to reiterate a point I made a year ago, is that we have to reevaluate our own viewpoint of Magic. I personally cannot really, because I should be making content even on Dominaria United if I find it boring. But the majority of players can take a step back and not care too much. Think of it this way, if sets come out every fucking month and a bit, there's been 40 days between the release of New Capenna and Baldur's Gate 2, and there's previews in amongst that, fucking secret layers dropping, updates to Arena, fucking alchemy changes, you fucking name it, there's just shit being thrown at you if you're an enfranchised Magic player. But there's a 40-day window. Let's just say you've built yourself a New Capenna commander, right? As most of us have, or I plan to but haven't got around to yet, probably won't again before I'm on the next hype. Let's say you build a New Capenna commander on week 1 of release. How long do you have to play with that before you're on to the next release? Of course, the commander doesn't disappear upon next release, but the point I'm getting at is as long as you're playing, what, once a week, which is probably the norm for most people, you can get 4 games in with a commander at best before you move on to the next thing. It's not a bad thing that all this stuff is happening, but it does feel like it gives you not a lot of time to play with your toys. And then the content train side of things, this is more a personal complaint. I wanted to play some more New Capenna stuff before I went away on holiday. Didn't get a fucking chance, right? Like the first week that New Capenna was out, I wanted to stream Mob Nixilis, the new New Capenna Mob Nixilis, the 3-mana one in a Nick Fit shell and legacy. But around 4 or 5 days after release, the card was incredibly expensive and unrentable. There wasn't enough of them on Modo for Card Hoarder, the person who the company that sponsors me to play on stream and on videos. They just didn't have enough of them to go around. So there's a window as well, maybe a week or so, outside of Arena, and that's the upside of Arena. You can get stuff immediately, right? But Modo and paper, procuring the cards you need on week 1 of a new meta is just, it's borderline impossible, which shaves down that window to play these formats before they evolve into the next thing, before you get to move on and such, shaves it down even further. So I've got a theory. I've got something to suggest, an actual improvement. I came into this when I was thinking about doing an update to this video after seeing all the memes online, not really knowing where I was going to go with all this. And then I was rewatching, what I mean by that was, I was going to put this stuff out there, say it's frustrating, and then just shrug my shoulders. But I was rewatching Prof's video from last year about it, and he makes a very interesting point, and he's made this point a few times. He said it on Dice to Remove with me as well, is that people know the guilds of Ravnica, right? Mainly because it's one of the older sets with a real identity in terms of factions, but also because we've been there 3 or 4 times at this point. It's 3 times, right? I can't even fucking keep up. But also, and this is the point he kind of makes, is that we spend a year there each time we go when we have a 3-set block almost, or let's say a year, it's like, I don't know, 9 months, 7 months. It might actually be 6. Either way, half a year to a year in those fucking worlds. And this happened in the past. When we were on Shards for 3 sets, we were there for what, 6, 7 months? Same for every set. It's always had a 2 or 3 block structure. You kind of spend time learning the environment, understanding the world, meeting the characters, and finding things that resonate with you. You essentially get to explore those places and those realities and those worlds that they've built. Because I don't think the world building team and the people making Magic are doing a bad job. I think Magic has a very rich and interesting tapestry. When you actually get to sit down and read wikis or read the story articles, or if you're lucky enough, talk to people from Wizards of the Coast, whether you're at an event and you bump into them, or a conversation I once had with Daniel Holt, one of the people who got to do some early design stuff on Throne of Eldraine as one of their first jobs there. He explained to me some of the nuances behind the wedding motifs that were in Throne of Eldraine that I completely fucking missed because they were so subtle and part of the overall world building of the set. I believe these things, even if they're subtle, would be seen more readily and easily if we just spent a bit more time there. Prof's example of this is that Kaldheim had 10 realms. No one can name them, no one knows which ones are which colour pairings, and no one has a fuck what any of them mean thematically. Now, I think Kaldheim is a weird example for this in the sense that I don't know if its world building was actually that strong. We have this problem with some Magic sets where they rely quite heavily upon the monster of the week or theme of the week in the case of Kaldheim Vikings. But it is interesting that we spent, what, fucking 30 to 40 days there? Or beginning of previous season up to like the beginning of the next previous season. It's probably still 30 to 40 days, really. And by that point, your focus is on the future, or the next thing, or the next article, or the next videos that creators like myself are making to keep up with the current news. And you just forget about the last one. And I was thinking this about Kamigawa, because going into Kamigawa I was excited and I thought it was fucking sick. And same with New Capenna as well. I thought they did a really good job with New Capenna of switching things up in a way that I found interesting. Like, I didn't come into New Capenna that excited about the noir aspect, but when I found out that the world was built upon a previous battle with the Phyrexians where they had to harvest angels to defeat them, I thought that was fucking sick. I came in assuming I was a broker, a Bant-aligned person, because I like green-white factions and other sets, and I've always liked Bant. But as I learned more about the world, I found out that Cabaretti are more in line with me. Lore is not my thing, even if it's bird lore. I'm more into like feasting, dancing, and performance in a sense, even though I don't really like dancing. That's not the point. But I feel like I learned these things and learned a bit about the world, and before I fucking know it, today my focus is now on Baldur's Gate. A city not only in a different fucking plane, but in an actual different universe. We're leaving Magic right now to go to D&D. And again, you can step back and not let everything distract from everything else, but it's hard to when the hype train has no fucking brakes. I do think if we went back to a 2-block structure, this is my plan, a 2-block structure, everything would just feel more paced out. Like, you'd have some fucking breathing room. To explain what I mean by all this, it used to be that when we went to a world like Alara or Ravnica or Theros, we'd spend 3 blocks there, a big block and 2 smaller ones that like combined onto it to make limited environments and such. And what that did was, in all fairness, the 3 block structure was too long. We spent too long on the planes, we got bored, and the third blocks are always considered to be the worst. They often have a lot of shit that wasn't in the first 2, like kind of just shoehorned in, and people don't look fondly upon your dragon's mazes and your fucking journey into Nexus and shit. But what they did allow was also to have the story to have a structure as well. Like Elspeth, you know, we met Xenagos the Reveler. He became a god, and then Elspeth travelled into, I'm looking at my Elspeth poster here, travelled into Nyx to go and fuck him up, and then Hela betrayed her. We had an arc. And that would be much more interesting for the current storylines too. Like, why do we have to immediately have Kamigawa, find out it's Jin-Gitaxias, and have Tamiyo completed all in one set? Surely having a cliffhanger plot point to then be resolved in the next set would make things just stick with us a bit better. Like, I've almost forgotten that Tamiyo got completed because it's all in a rush, all in a blur. And as much as I fucking hate War of the Spark, I think War of the Spark is one of the good examples of this too. We had a 3-block structure with Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds and then War, I guess, but War did a cool thing in the preview season by sequentially doing its preview cards to tell a story. If you add that in and then you add a 2-block structure so we can fucking have a cliffhanger and then find out about which Phyrexian Praetor is on this plane, which is what we're all wanting to know about the next set, right? I think that would lead to more stories that resonate and help us to invest in Magic. Because at the moment it is just a whistle-stop tour of one thing after the next, and I just find myself like clambering for the things of old because I had time to spend with them. Those things feel familiar, where the new things just feel like flashing lights, and lots of the worlds don't feel fleshed out, even though they are, because I don't get to spend time exploring that fleshed out stuff before the next thing happens. I think Magic's got quite a good intellectual property, and I generally think it's wasted, which has been an episode of Dice removal that might be out just before this video comes, so that's interesting. And I just think other games, tabletop games and video games, do better in exploring their characters, and I wonder a lot of the time why I feel that. And one of the things I think is that Magic has lost this breathing room to explore because it's just a whistle-stop tour of ideas, and none of them get to sit and linger, and we don't get to taste them for very long. Imagine you have a tasting menu of all these delicious dishes, but you only get like 30 seconds per one. That might be a novelty place you pay to go to in Vegas, but it would fucking suck. So long story short, my opinions haven't changed much since last year when I said that I think actually the only way to get away from this, because Wizards are making money hand over fist, not going to change, is to step back and reassess our own relationship with the constant release schedule of Magic and the constant perpetual hype with no breaks on that train. But I do think if Wizards went back to a 2-block structure for the main sets, if we spent 2 blocks on Kamigawa and 2 blocks on Capenna, and we had big reveals, like Tamiyo's completion could have been like the big reveal for the second set as we found out Jin-Gitaxias was there. Or we found out Jin-Gitaxias is there at the big end of the first car block, and we have the big fight and we don't know who's going to be lost, and then we lose Tamiyo in the second one. I think it has more emotional impact. Although I think the Tamiyo reveal was cool. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I am rambling a little bit and I've gone a little bit off script. I am passionate about this. I've been a big fan of 2-block structure for a long time, and I keep meaning to get around to making this video to talk about it, but I've kind of hidden it in a much more tasty clickbait morsel of, is there too much product? No, but I do think there'd be a better strategy to allow us to savor and breathe in the aesthetics and themes of Magic if we had a 2-block structure. That's it. That's the tweet. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope my COVID fucking fueled rambles haven't been so bad. Thanks to Emmy for sponsoring this video too. Don't forget the link in the description below to get 5% off your first variety pack. The noodles are fucking yummy. And I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.